Please let me know if you guys can see my screen. A quick thumbs up. Perfect. Oh, sorry. Nice. So we can get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session on Streamlining MuleSoft, a Salesforce Developer-Friendly guide. This session was presented at TDX this year, and we are super happy to present it online today as well in front of you folks. So you must have been to many MuleSoft sessions. You must have been to many MuleSoft meetups, but this one is special. This session is to enable Salesforce developers to take their first step towards MuleSoft. But before we begin, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Shubham. I'm a senior integration engineer working for a fintech company. I'm also a MuleSoft mentor, now MuleSoft ambassador, and a MuleSoft meetup leader for Montreal region. Unfortunately, Smith couldn't join us today. She had some issues with her internet connection, and she couldn't join us today. So I'll be the only one presenting the slides. So moving on to today's agenda, we will be covering the following topics. We will be starting with what is MuleSoft, and then we will be exploring the needs and understanding the needs of integration. Then we will be deep diving into MuleSoft. Basically, we will be presenting a use case demo in front of you folks, and at the end of the presentation, we will be sending you to the right resources to get started with MuleSoft. Before I start my slides, I would really like to know how many of you folks are Salesforce devs with no introduction about MuleSoft. If you guys can quickly type it in the chat. Sai Charan, you're a MuleSoft dev. Okay. Frank, Nicholas, Abhishek. Okay, nice. Nice, Nicholas. So you have recently been with MuleSoft? Perfect. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, this presentation is made for Salesforce devs who want to take their first step towards MuleSoft and who are super new with MuleSoft and understanding its semantics. This presentation is not made for people with like more than 3 to 4 years of experience in MuleSoft. So it's like a beginner friendly presentation. Hello, Zishan. Nice meeting you. Yeah, so let's start with our slides for today. So let's start with the basics. What is MuleSoft? MuleSoft is basically an integration platform that enables seamless communication across complex digital ecosystems. One of its fundamental is its API-led approach, which empowers businesses to unify different systems, automate workflows, and enhance customer experiences. So to sum it up, MuleSoft provides a comprehensive set of tools for designing, developing, and deploying complex integrations. Let's talk about some of the advantages that MuleSoft has. MuleSoft offers an intensively evolved suite of tools. You can not only use intelligent interfaces to create your integrations, but you can also use generative flows to actually leverage the generative power of Einstein. MuleSoft has like a new IDE, which I will be showing you folks as well, which is called Anypoint Code Builder, where you can actually use Einstein to build your flows, which is super cool. So moving forward, with wide variety of tools offered under MuleSoft banner, you can connect any application, system, or data as needed. It is not just a middleware, but a lot more. MuleSoft also enhances your experience of creating automations. You can build end-to-end automations using other tools that MuleSoft offers. For example, MuleSoft Composer, MuleSoft RPA, which are based on clicks and not code principle. And the best part of it all is it's extremely compatible with Salesforce. You can have a MuleSoft interface in Salesforce as well. If you use MuleSoft Composer, you can, within your organization, Salesforce org, you can go to MuleSoft Composer and build your automations using clicks and not code. Let's try and focus on the need for MuleSoft, why it is needed, and why it is super popular in the industry at the moment. MuleSoft Anypoint platform is basically a tool to resolve the crisis. The development platform has mission to make connectivity easy, faster, and flexible. With MuleSoft, enterprise data integration becomes more like plug and play model. You have a lot of connectors in MuleSoft ecosystem which you can use and leverage to build your integrations. And let's not forget, MuleSoft also allows us to align our complex integration needs with our business goals. So the goal alignment factor is there as well. So as I mentioned before, this presentation was specifically designed for Salesforce devs to make their first leap in MuleSoft. So we also wanted to cover some of the similarities that MuleSoft has with Salesforce. The first similarity would be flows. I know some of you folks here might have used flows in Salesforce. Flows, the concept is pretty similar to what we have in MuleSoft. With MuleSoft, we also work with flows across its suite of tools. We build flows to create, as I mentioned, integrations, automations, and orchestrate real-time workflows. Yes, they differ a little, but since you already know the core, I think it is very easy to dive into MuleSoft if you have knowledge of flows. Then we have DataWeave. DataWeave is nothing but a programming language that MuleSoft offers. And all the Salesforce devs here must be familiar with Apex, right? And a good thing about DataWeave as well is you can actually, since it's an open source language, it is also available as a DataWeave namespace in Apex. So if you are writing your Apex code, if you would like to do, MIME type conversions, without writing like a big piece of code, you can simply call the DataWeave library and try to do the transformation. As you can see in the picture, with DataWeave, you can transfer from CSV to YAML, JSON to XML, so forth. So there's no need to actually Google and search for code to transform your data. You can just use DataWeave in Apex. Moving forward with the accelerators, if you're not still feeling confident about getting your hands in MuleSoft, well, MuleSoft still got you covered. MuleSoft provide a huge range of accelerators which you can use to create your integrations. These accelerators are based on real life use cases. They are integration templates basically, which are based on industry standard best practices. So, for example, if you want to do integration with NetSuite, if you want to do integration with PagerDuty or your invoice system, you can use Salesforce or MuleSoft accelerators that are predefined for you to get started with your integration. And then on top of it, you can build complex integrations as well as you need. Now, basically, all you got to do is download the right accelerator from Anypoint Exchange. Anypoint Exchange is basically a repo that MuleSoft has to download its connectors, accelerators, and code as well if needed. So I'll pause here for a moment if anybody has any questions. If not, I'll be moving to the demo that we presented at TDX. So I'll wait for like a couple of minutes to see if there is any question. Okay, seems like no question. So I'll be moving forward. If anybody has any question, they can write it in the chat and I'll be answering it. Okay. Moving on to the demo. So let's try to see a practical use case for MuleSoft. So let us assume Between Two Mules, which is actually a YouTube channel that is me and I created. We try to provide all things MuleSoft and much more. So let's say Between Two Mules is an online training academy company that provides online learning platform where individuals and businesses can learn and gain skills that help them achieve their goals. Right. Recently, Between Two Mules actually acquired another training company to increase their hold in the market. Right. The acquired company, let's say the name is Ozone, that stores the data in an on-prem database. So what Between Two Mules is trying to do is to streamline all its customer data on Salesforce to have a customer 360 view and have a single source of truth. Oh, sorry. And have a single source of truth. They're also choosing MuleSoft to build a seamless integration from database to Salesforce. They would like to track failed records by creating issues in Jira, which they use as a ticketing system. So let us see how they implement solutions with MuleSoft in action. So just to reiterate the problems that Between Two Mule is facing, it's very hard to track the failed records, and they would like to track the failed records from database to Salesforce. If any of the records fail, they would like to track it, and they would like to have a customer 360 view. That is the reason they are moving to Salesforce from a on-prem database. And since there are multiple stakeholders for this particular system, there are multiple stakeholders. The process is quite complex and quite manual. And some of the folks, they don't have complete understanding, and it might be possible that they do some errors and the sync is not in place. So these are the problems that Between Two Mules company is facing. And as a solution, they opt to use MuleSoft. So let us focus on the solution. So what we need to do is basically build an integration between Ozone's database and BTM Service Cloud to achieve near real-time integration. BTM would also like to create Jira tasks, as I mentioned before, in case of failures while syncing accounts to alert the DevOps team or any other team to resolve errors. And so for MuleSoft, we will be building an integration, which is calling Salesforce as well as Jira. We will be utilizing the connectors that MuleSoft has, and we will be building an error handling a mechanism as well to track failures. So far, so good. I'll check the chat box again to see if anybody has any question. Okay, let's move forward with the demo. Let me see. Yeah. So this is Anypoint platform. Uh, Anypoint platform is basically a control plane. You can consider it as a brain of MuleSoft. Here you can manage, design, and also deploy your integrations. Whatever you build on an IDE, it will be here. So the very first step is to actually design a RAML. RAML is basically an API specification which you need to design your integration. It will allow you to basically write down the resources that that particular integration or API needs. So to go to RAML, you can simply click on the design center, and this will be the interface that it will come to. And here, what you can do, you can start by building a new API spec. The first step is to give the project name. For the sake of this API spec, we have given the project name TDX Mule Demo because it was a TDX presentation. And you can either select guide me through it, or if you are very comfortable in RAML, you can build or design your RAML by yourself. So if you click on guide me through it, it will provide you an interface to not code, but actually provide description about your API RAML, and it will automatically write the code for you. So in this case, what we have done, we have provided the title, Mule Demo, version would be version v1. The protocol here we are following is HTTPS, and we'll not be putting any base API or URL. So the first resource that we will be building is sync resource. So the resource would be a get. So here what we will be doing is getting the information from the database. So in the response, we will be putting status 201, which is created, and one, let's say, failure response, which was not implemented. I would like to put a quick emphasis that here, if you see on the right, the code is automatically built by itself. So we are just providing the information on the design center. It is writing code for you, which is super useful. Sorry. And let's say I would like to build another resource, which is create resource. And in this case, it will be a post request. Post would be, let's say, if there is any failure, we would like to post that failure on Jira to basically check the issue, and other teams can be notified via Jira and they can perform any solution on that particular error. So for post, we have like 200 success and one not implemented success. On the right, as you can see now, we have two resources. One is create resource and the other is sync resource. And what we can do, we can simply publish it to Exchange. Exchange, as I mentioned before, it is basically a repository where you can store your code, and other developers can fetch the code from Exchange, and it helps in parallel development as well. So we move ahead by publishing the API RAML or API spec to Exchange, and now we come to Anypoint Studio. So Anypoint Studio is the IDE. So this is the older version of the IDE that we are showing you here. It is on-prem, so it is not on cloud. And here what you can do, if you can see the interface is pretty similar, then if you compare it with Eclipse, the interface is pretty similar. And what you can do here is actually develop your complex integrations. So you pull the API RAML from Anypoint Exchange, and then you build code on top of it. So API RAML can be considered as the interface, and when you develop your code here, it can be considered as implementation. So we move forward with creating a new project. We can give a project name here. The project name would be TDX Mule Demo. And what you can see here, what we are doing is downloading the RAML from Design Center. So for that, you have to be logged in to your Anypoint IDE. And here you can see after we publish, you can simply select the TDX Mule Demo. If we click finish, you will see the code already made, pre-built for you. And on top of it, it is basically a wrapper or scaffolding, as we say in MuleSoft. And you can basically build your integration on top of it. It has a listener which will listen to your GET request or POST request, and then it will follow the procedure. So for the sake of this demo, what we have done is we'll close all the pop-ups, and we will be building our integration on top of it. This is the error handling, and this is the console. And these are the two resources, the GET resource and the POST resource. So in the GET resource, right now, we simply have a logger. And now what we will be doing, we will be actually implementing a logic here. We will be putting a flow reference. Flow reference is basically nothing but a reference to a flow. Flows are basically actions in a sequential manner. And this is the implementation flow that we have created. As you can see here, we have 4 connectors that we have used. We have used a select database connector, which will be calling the database, which is on-prem. Then we will be transforming the message, and then we will be simply creating that particular object in Salesforce, and then we will be logging it. So this transform message is actually, right now, we don't have any code written in it. You can actually write your own custom code to basically do the transformations. But here we would like to show you something else. So if you can see on the left, you get the input from the preprocessor, which is the select database connector here. You will get all the output that is defined. And for the transfer message, you can see the input for the create. So what you can do, you can simply drag and drop the fields that are required, and it will automatically write the code for you. So what I will be doing here is simply grabbing the first name in the name, and then grabbing the last name in the name as well. So I'll just backtrack a little, and now you can see the code was automatically created for you. It basically, the name field is populated with the first name as well as the last name on Salesforce object. So let's move forward with this particular flow, and we will try to debug it. So the code was successfully deployed. And now what we need is actually an API client to hit that particular API. So the code is in our local, and it is live. And what we can do, we can hit that particular API to see what runs or what not. Right. So as you can see, we are using an endpoint called localhost, because since it's on my local, and then API is basically a resource that is added automatically for any integration that MuleSoft has. And then we have our own resource that we built, that was sync resource. So we'll send a request, and it will come in this flow. First, it will go to the get resource, and then there we have a flow reference which will come to this flow. It will select it will move forward, and it will in the payload, as you can see here, the transformation was made already, and the name was Shubham between two mules. And what it will do, if we move forward, it will try to create that object in Salesforce. What we can see in the debug mode, we can see the payload, whether it was successful or not. In this case, as you can see, the field successful is true, which means it was a successful insert in Salesforce. And then we have logger to log to console if you would like to. So this was the Salesforce ID that was created. I grabbed it from the variables from the debug. And what we can do, this is our Salesforce sales org, for example, and uh, we will try to see the accounts, and the account was created successfully. So this is how you can basically sync any on-prem records to Salesforce using MuleSoft as a middle layer, basically. So this was the happy path, right? And now let's focus on failure part. Let's say if something fails. For example, in this case, if you move forward with create, it will not show you if the insert was successful or not. It will simply say it is successful, true or false. We have to implement a logic in MuleSoft which basically see whether the insert was successful or not and handle the error respectively. So we have a choice operator here. Here, what we are doing, we are simply writing an expression. If payload is successful, if it is true, simply log it. But if it is false, we have to create that particular Jira task, remember, for that other teams to basically see and fix it. So if it fails, we go to this on error propagate, which will stop the flow, and then it will do some transformation and it will try to create that issue in Jira with the proper description and everything for the other team to understand the error and try to fix it. So here what we have done is put a raise error component. We can simply drag and drop from the core module that we have from the right palette. And in this case, it will fail because let's say the object was already created. So it can't create. We have a validation rule. You can't create with the same name. Let's say it failed. And it comes in the raise error component. In the raise error component, it says an error occurred. And now, which means the flow errored out. And the flow reference was errored out in particular. And then it will go to the on error propagate. In on-error propagate, what we have done is basically transform the message and try to create an issue in Jira for tracking purposes. So if we move forward, the issue was created successfully in Jira. If you see, we have a team called TDX 24. And if you can see the ticket, we have put in the name. It was by creating from MuleSoft Jira connector. And we have pinned down the error. And the description here we have written this is a test task, but we can definitely modify the description as needed. So once we are happy with our integration, I'll pause here for 1 second to see if there are any other questions. Okay. Eduardo says a sample of user that lost track. Edward, if you can be a little bit more explicit. Shrikant, I can show the config done in DB after I'm done with the presentation for sure. Okay, let's move forward. So after we are satisfied with our integration, the next step is actually to deploy it to any point platform, which I showed you before. So what we do within the IDE, we can actually deploy the integration. So here we have to put in our username and password, and then simply click on sign in. And then we have to choose the environment. Since we have a trial account, in this case, we only have design in sandbox. We don't have a production environment. So let's try to deploy it in sandbox. And then you basically write down the name of the application, which is similar to the project name that you have basically created in Anypoint Studio. And then it asks you to specify the deployment target. We have Cloud Hub 2.0. We have Cloud Hub 1.0 as well. Cloud Hub 2.0 is the new deployment target that MuleSoft has implemented. It is basically containerization, and it is much better than Cloud Hub 1.0 and much faster. But it gives you the choice to select between Cloud Hub and Cloud Hub 2.0. And then you have the runtime versions, you have other properties to configure, or you can simply click on deploy application. Once the integration is deployed on Cloud Hub, that integration is live and can be accessed by outside users. So you don't have to hit localhost. You can basically, MuleSoft can provide you a URL to hit the API on, and you can hit that API from outside as well. So that was the demo that we presented at TDX. I'll check if anybody has any questions again. No questions, we can move forward. No, sorry. So as I mentioned before, we have showed you the demo on Anypoint Studio, which was the older version of MuleSoft IDE, but now they have a newer version, which is Anypoint Code Builder. Anypoint Code Builder provides a lot more smoother interface, and may I say, it is more like Salesforce for our developers to complete the entire API lifecycle in one place. So you just need to go to Anypoint platform, you click on Anypoint Code Builder and start developing your integrations there. It's very intuitive. You can also use Einstein to build generative flows on Anypoint Code Builder. So now you have a glimpse of what MuleSoft can do. I would highly recommend you folks to start your journey with MuleSoft today. If you are thinking how you can start your journey, don't worry, we have got you covered. You can start your journey by scanning this QR code, which is on your screen. This QR code will take you to a Trailblazer post, which has all the resources you need to start your journey. One of the links will take you to the MuleSoft group page, which is a LinkedIn page. We have an army of more than 20,000 MuleSoft folks. There you can ask any questions that you have about MuleSoft, and I'm pretty sure you will have a right resource there. And yeah, if you have any question, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. I'll paste my LinkedIn URL in the comment section or the chat. You guys can definitely ask me if you guys have any questions. So since I was presented at TDX, we can't unfortunately give you coffee. It was for people who actually went to TDX. So feel free to scan it, or I don't even know if this particular QR works or not. So I'll quickly move forward, and thank you so much for listening to our presentation today that we presented at TDX. As I mentioned, this was very much focused for Salesforce folks to basically start their MuleSoft journey, and this was the presentation about that as well. So thank you, folks. I'll stop sharing now, and I'll take on any questions if you folks have. Yeah, Nicholas, I'll give you my LinkedIn URL, and actually I'll paste it in the chat, and everyone can feel free to basically send me a message, and I'll happy to I'll happy to help you. So so this is my LinkedIn, and Shrikant had this question about the DB config. Let me try to pull it out and see if I can show you folks the DB configuration that we did configure for this particular project. So I'll stop the recording for now, and I can show you the DB config.